Hey monsters, thanks for tuning in to Murder News, the true crime cult with the latest breaking news, murdery memes, TV reviews, podcast recommendations, and all things spooky. Imagine a world where you can run around on a farm with your true crime friends while living in a tiny house with your own pet baby goat. That's the future we want for you, and I'm television's Aurora Katie.
And I'm Angelina. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and recruit all of your friends to join our cult. This is the Week in True Crime.
Murder News.
We need to talk about Britney Spears. By now, hashtag freebritney is trending again as Britney's social media posts have taken a dark turn. Videos posted to Instagram and TikTok reveal a sad, vacant-looking Britney who dances, twirls, and poses with muscle memory or reads awkwardly from a pre-written script. When I came across Britney's TikTok, I was shook. Something certainly felt wrong, and viewer speculations that she's being drugged didn't seem like such a leap. I had to get a closer look. I went down the rabbit hole for you to fill you in on exactly what a conservatorship is, why Britney is involved in one, and why fans and friends of the pop icon are fighting for her freedom. We all remember Britney's very public meltdown of 2008, which led to a short stay in a psychiatric facility. At this point in time, Britney's father, Jamie Spears, was granted an emergency temporary conservatorship as Britney seemed unable to care for herself and her affairs in the midst of a mental breakdown. What's so mysterious is how this so-called emergency temporary conservatorship has endured for 12 long years. Initially, this was to be a short-term solution, in place until Britney was feeling well enough to manage her affairs. As Instagrammers like @Dirty2000s and @TrashBandicoot point out, 2 months after hospitalization, she did a guest appearance on How I Met Your Mother. 6 months after hospitalization, she dropped a womanizer video and started to promote her new album Circus. Being well enough to work this hard, one would assume she could regain her autonomy, but instead the conservatorship was made permanent, with Jamie Spears and lawyer Andrew Wallet working together as co-conservators. So what exactly is a conservatorship? And is Jamie Spears the right man for the job? Usually granted to care for elderly people with dementia, conservatorships are also occasionally applied in the event of a mental health crisis. A conservator, often a relative, is appointed to manage the assets and decisions of the person in question when they are deemed unable to care for themselves. In her book, The Con Game, A Failure of Trust, T.S. Laham wrote that America's guardianship system is an open invitation to potential abuse. She explained to Forbes in 2015 that often court-appointed guardians are overwhelmed and undertrained for the job, and warned that conservatorships can strip people of their individual rights. She also noted that prior to doing her research, she had assumed that this system was well-regulated and controlled, but found that's just not true. The United States Government Accountability Office released a report in 2010 stating that they had identified hundreds of allegations of physical abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation by guardians during the previous decade. In 20 selected cases, the GAO found that guardians stole or otherwise improperly obtained $5.4 million in assets from 158 incapacitated victims. They also determined that in over half of those cases, the courts failed to oversee guardians once they were appointed, allowing the abuse of people and their assets to continue. Britney's mother and Jamie's ex-wife, Lynn, described Jamie as a dysfunctional alcoholic in her 2008 memoir, Through the Storm, a real story of fame and family in a tabloid world. Last year, Jamie was accused by Britney's ex, Kevin Federline, of breaking down a door to get to their son, Sean, and then violently shaking him. Both sons were consequently granted a restraining order against Jamie. Even if the courts continue to rule that she does in fact need a conservatorship, surely there must be a better candidate than her father. Along with control of Britney's assets and any personal, professional, or medical decisions regarding Britney, Jamie takes a conservator's salary of around $130,000. The rent on his office is covered, and he was awarded 1.5% of Britney's gross revenues from her Vegas residency. @TrashBandicoot says, since the conservatorship began, she has released 4 albums, done 3 worldwide tours, a 4-year residency in Las Vegas, was a judge on X Factor, released multiple perfumes, and a lingerie line. Fans have suggested that if Britney is as unwell as she seems and as unwell as the courts find her to be, It is taking advantage of her to make her work this hard. In 2018, Jamie Spears' medical issues led Britney to cancel her Vegas residency. Andrew Wallet said of conservatorships that what works typically is to keep them going until you have stabilization of the conservatee and they've gotten their meds handled, they're no longer psychotic. It doesn't mean they're okay, but they're much better in terms of not needing that kind of oversight, and you can let the conservatorship go. Wallet resigned from the conservatorship in 2019, giving up a salary of over $400,000. Jamie Spears has remained the one constant in Britney's conservatorship case, often designating others, such as Britney's ex-fiancé Jason Trawick and her current care manager Jody Montgomery, to handle Britney's personal matters, while he manages her financial assets and continues to take a salary. It comes across almost as if he planned to continue to drain Britney and her bank account with as little care or responsibility for her personal well-being as possible. It's so difficult to tell whether Britney's okay. Of course, her team has made statements that this conservatorship is designed to help her and she is being well cared for. Vague statements like this, made by the very people accused of mistreating Britney, won't be enough to kill the hashtag freebritney conversation on social media. Britney herself joined the hashtag freebritney movement for a stint last year as she told the court she was being held against her will. Occasionally since then, Britney makes social media posts insisting that she is fine and that her family is taking good care of her and she is enjoying spending time with them. A recent Instagram post to Britney's account stated, "Some people might not like my posts or even understand them, but this is me being happy. This is me being authentic and as real as it gets." But fans are quick to point out that anyone on her team could be making posts on her account, in particular text posts like this one that don't include any photo or video content of Britney herself. Britney is not legally allowed to discuss the details of her conservatorship in public, as part of the terms of her agreement. She wrote an album titled Original Doll, allegedly detailing the abuse she has endured in her life, but its release was canceled by her label. If this isn't what it looks like, prove us wrong. Aren't there any authorities performing regular wellness checks? Returning to speculations of drugging, it would certainly make Britney appear to be less credible in court. And Jamie Spears is the one in control of Britney's medical decisions, which includes any medications that she may be taking. The most recent extension to Britney's conservatorship was done without a court appearance at all on account of the ongoing coronavirus pandemic. Britney is reportedly worth $83 million and is incredibly influential as a nearly lifelong celebrity. In 2008, Vanity Fair declared her the most important cultural figure in America. Could it be possible that a flawed system has allowed her father to permanently strip her of her autonomy, all while making her work for money she's not allowed to spend while he earns a salary? Fans in America and around the world want an explanation. Hashtag Free Britney has also garnered some celebrity support. Hosts of the talk show, The Talk, spoke out in support of the movement, sporting hashtag Free Britney merch. Sharon Osbourne said of Britney on the show, "She has been working since a very young age. It's time for her to have a life, and maybe her dad can find a job." Britney's ex-boyfriend, David Liccato, from whom she split in August 2014, said, "If anyone knew the real Britney, and if anyone could see her interactions with her kids, they would know that there is no need for a conservatorship over Britney's personal life." Tess Barker and Barbara Gray, hosts of the popular podcast Britney's Gram, said they began worrying about the musician due to the strange nature of her posts. And after that, they received an anonymous phone call from a member of one of the law firms handling Spears' conservatorship. "You guys are onto something," the source allegedly told them. Photographer Andrew Gallery, who has worked with Britney, shared a video of himself reading from an intimate letter that Britney allegedly shared with him in 2009 that revealed that she was lied to and set up by her father to take control of her assets and her life. Gallery was compelled by the hashtag Free Britney movement to speak up, but said that he couldn't earlier because he was under contract. He also added that the original letter was destroyed by her conservators, but he had made a copy. Other celebrities speaking out against Britney's conservatorship and in support of the hashtag Free Britney movement include Paris Hilton, Vera Wang, Tina Shea, Heidi Montag, Courtney Love, will.i.am, David LaChapelle, Sam Asghari, Cardi B, Rose McGowan, and Miley Cyrus. Britney is not allowed to do any of the following without her father's permission: drive a car, vote, get married, have children, see her children, leave her home, hire her own lawyer, use a cell phone or social media unmonitored, make any career decisions, or retire. Britney's conservatorship has been extended until at least August 22nd.
This week, a ninth person has been charged in the murder of Tiki Laverdiere. Tiki, a First Nations woman from Edmonton, Alberta, was reported missing on May 12, 2019. Tiki had attended the funeral for Tristan Cook Buckle at Thunderchild First Nation on April 27th after Tristan was also murdered and found in a burned car in Alberta. Tiki was reportedly a close friend of Tristan's. She was last seen in North Battlefield on May 1st and also contacted her family by text message on the same day. Her family then reported her missing on May 12th, and by June 10th, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police believed her disappearance to be a homicide. On July 12th, human remains were found by cadaver dogs in a rural area of North Battlefield that were believed to be those of Tiki, and on July 16th, an autopsy confirmed that Tiki had been murdered, though the cause of death has not yet been released. Here's where the story gets pretty weird. Between July 16, 2019 and July 10th of this year, 9 people have been charged in Tiki's murder, which is pretty rare for a murder case. Shayla Orthner, Danita Thomas, Brent Jacosis, Jesse Sinister, Nicole Cook, Soaring Eagle Whitstone, Nikita Sandra Cook, Mavis Quinn Tekakanu, Charles St. Savard have all been charged with varying offenses from first-degree murder, kidnapping, improperly interfering with a human body, and theft of a motor vehicle. Nicole Cook is the mother of Tristan, whose funeral Tiki attended right before she disappeared. Since this is an ongoing case, very little information has been released about the cause of death or the motive. It is rumored that Tristan was in a gang known as Red Alert, and it's possible that his death could be related to the gang, but that's definitely just speculation. According to Tiki's mother, Carol, she didn't know anyone at the funeral well and only attended to be there for Nicole.
My daughter did not know anybody from here, and she just came here to be beside Nicole because she was burying her son. So she was just, trying to be there for Nicole, and something else, terrible happened.
Nicole made a Facebook post on May 21st saying, "I love you, Tiki, with all of me. It's strange not having you here. I'm still holding on to hope that you're coming through the door. I love you, and I feel like I let you both down, Tristan and you." Tiki's mother, Carol, has been very vocal about her daughter's disappearance and death, and she also publicly posted on Facebook about her disappearance and Nicole's involvement, stating she knew Nicole was lying all along. She wrote, "It's been a long few months having to bite my tongue. Tiki Brooklyn loved your son and she loved you. She stood by you while you buried him. You are one twisted individual. How could this ever bring him back?" Hearings for several of the accused are coming up soon, so be sure to check out murdermurder.news for updates on this case.
This week, we're watching Method of a Serial Killer on Oxygen. Method of a Serial Killer covers the story of Israel Keys using interviews with Israel and the FBI agents who caught him. Israel was arrested in March of 2012 for the abduction and murder of Samantha Koenig. While in custody, Israel confessed to murdering up to 11 people, including Bill and Lorraine Currier in Essex, Vermont. He is known for burying kill kits across the country, so he could easily fly from his home in Anchorage, Alaska, to stalk his victims in various states without having to bring weapons with him. This show is really well done and super terrifying. Check it out on Oxygen or Amazon Prime.
It's so good. If you don't know anything about Israel Keys, this is such a good starting place. It's the creepiest show. He's the creepiest serial killer. It really got me.
Yeah, actually, this is one that kind of slipped by me. I don't know too much about this case, so I'm pretty excited about watching this as well.
Yeah, one of the most interesting things about his case is the fact that so few people knew his name until relatively recently. And that's because he had a daughter and clearly he has no respect for humans or humanity at all. But it was really important to him that he protect his daughter's safety by not letting this get out. So he made a deal with the FBI when he was talking to them about the different murders, that he would keep talking so long as they kept his name out of the media to keep his daughter safe. Which is like really interesting that amazing. The FBI actually did follow along with that so well, because I didn't hear about this case until the last year or two. And from there was like some kind of media leak where somebody found his name and released it to the media. And because of that disclosure, he stopped talking and he stopped telling the police where bodies were hidden and about potential murders he was involved in. So they kind of blew it for everybody, unfortunately.
Ugh.
But yeah, go watch it. It's really good.
Okay.
We are so excited to have Tasha with us from this week's favorite podcast, Sinister Silhouettes. Sinister Silhouettes explores the illicit, the sordid, and the downright conniving acts that one person can commit against another. Tasha, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
So your show is so fantastic. I really love the episode you recently did, The Fear of the Big Black Man. It was so powerful. I love all of your episodes. What inspired you to start your podcast?
To start the podcast, I am a fan of true crime. I had another podcast that I do talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe's light.
No way.
It's called After the Snap, but yes. So that was my first foray into podcasting. And then I noticed that, like, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I love true crime. I don't hear a lot of people of color. I didn't. Now the floodgates are opening and I'm starting to see a whole lot more. But that was one of the things I wanted to add. Like, I'm Black. Crime is crime, whether a Black person or a white person. But it's just sometimes about the way we tell a story that's just a little bit different than our white counterparts. A lot of us are, you know, we are brought up on those stories, and the way we sit and listen to our parents talk, even to the point of listening to my parents when I was a young girl. The biggest thing outside of Indiana was the Atlanta child murderers. So the Atlanta child murders, I was probably maybe 10. I don't even think I was 10. But I would hear the grown-ups talking. Oh, that had to be a Black person. There's nobody that another person could have done that. Listening to those conversations and how they rationalize things and how they put these, made the leaps in logic, I guess, that they did. It is a different way of telling the same kinds of stories.
And that's an interesting case to bring up. Who do you think did it?
Well, I'm kind of like my parents in that. Now, do I believe that there is a possibility that there were more than one murderer? Sure.
Right.
But to get a lot of those kids to listen, me coming up in the same era, and I grew up in a town that was primarily Black. If a white person pulled up in a car and said, "Come here, kid," I probably wouldn't have done it. But a Black person, especially, you know, talking about making you rich, talking about making you famous, like they say that Wayne Williams did, I would think that would be a reason, that would be a good enough reason to go to the car, especially coming from the town where Michael Jackson is from.
That's I'm from
Indiana, so yeah, we wanted to, all of us wanted to be the Jacksons.
Right, and he was a producer and he was doing such cool projects too.
Yeah. So easy, that's an easy carrot. I'm pretty sure he killed at least some of those people. More than what he was actually found guilty of. In fact, I think.
I definitely think that he was guilty of killing some of them. I agree. Yeah. And so, Tasha, what is your true crime origin? Is it that case or a different case that first got you into true crime?
Now, that was me hearing the tidbits from the grown-ups, but the case that brought me in was just a couple of years later. It was in the town that I was from. We actually, in the neighborhood that I grew up in, a little girl named Tamika Turks and her auntie were walking to a corner store. And that is when Alton Coleman and Deborah Brown entered our national, or I would say our local conversation. And that's all you heard about for at least a month. And I was, I believe, 11 years old when that happened. And I was just in the newspaper. I was actually reading this one. That brought me into it. The fear of running into them brought me into it. And then the interest of all the stuff that came out after, that's what hooked me.
Wow. You got such an early start. I'm so impressed.
Oh, it's so much happened in that area. I mean, I was from Gacy. I would hear about that so much because it was right in the area. So yeah, I cut my teeth on some pretty bad true crime stories.
And the Gacy one, there's something about it that is just always too much for me. I think it's my least favorite true crime because of the clown thing. It's
Me too. And that's why I don't have, I coulrophobia is what I,
right.
I have it. I don't like clowns. I do not.
Yeah, so creepy. Well, Tasha, you have so many fantastic episodes, like I mentioned. You have the great episode you did recently on A Letter to Chicago. You've done quite a few episodes on the issues with police brutality, like so many fantastic stories. If anybody is looking to educate themselves a little bit more on the situation going on in the US, this is a great podcast to listen to. Like, it's fantastic. But out of all of the cases you've done, and it doesn't have to be police brutality, it can be any of them, which one has been your favorite to research?
My favorite to research, another close to home case, and it's not crime. It's like kind of paranormal. The LaToya Ammons case, where I don't know if you'd heard some years back, there was a demon house in Gary, Indiana. And like, it just became the center of the paranormal universe for like maybe 6 months.
What?
The people that were involved, and I did an episode about it. It's called the Exorcisms of LaToya Ammons. The people that were involved are people that I know. So the story just hit so close to home, and it was so much fun researching because I don't believe any of it, but
right.
It was fun to research because I knew like everybody involved, all the places, everything is still fresh in my mind from when that story broke, and it was hilarious.
Like a possession thing then.
Yes. So, you know what? No spoilers. The spoiler enough was that it is a possession story. Listen to the episode.
Yeah, I certainly will, because I'm actually really intrigued by like places that have some sort of like pull into weird circumstances, like the Cecil Hotel in LA where the Black Dahlia stayed, and Ramirez stayed, and then
the other one, the Stanley.
Oh, maybe.
Is the Stanley episode? I mean, is the Stanley Hotel for real, or is that just only in The Shining?
I certainly hope it's real. You know, I know that the hotel is a real place that people go and stay at in Colorado. Like, I have a friend who went there once, but I don't know if all those stories are true, or like if somebody, like if like they stayed there and then it inspired once
that movie came out, that's it. that Stanley is off the books for me. I cannot. Yeah. Even if nothing happened there.
Oh,
they filmed that movie.
It's so scary, and to this day, that's probably one of the movies that has like terrified me to my core the most. That, and I'm embarrassed to admit Jurassic Park, but they're both very scary for me. I'm such a baby about horror movies, and I love true crime so much.
Right, isn't that something?
Yeah. Well, Tasha, it's been so much fun having you today.
Thank you so much.
Can you let our viewers know where they can find you on social media?
On social media, I am at TCBYTB on Twitter and Facebook, TCByTB_Sinister on Instagram, and my website is tcbytv.com.
It's all the same. I love it.
Yes, I tried to keep it that way.
Don't forget to subscribe to Sinister Silhouettes wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss a single episode.
We love reading your comments, unless you're an incel troll, and we wanted to thank Miss Exclusive 4 for mentioning that Vanessa Guillen's story is extremely sad and that the whole situation was definitely suspicious.
Thanks to Amanda Rossi for commenting that she's been watching Unsolved Mysteries, but wishes they would have used the original theme music.
Thanks so much for tuning into This Week in True Crime with Murder Murder News. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, give us a thumbs up, and tell all of your true crime friends.
If you just can't get enough true crime, join our commune at murdermurder.news for our monster book club and cold case solving groups. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. See you next week.